Yeah, DC Cinematic Universe is screwed. Now available in paperback and e-readers. Isis, Amari's Revenge. The goddess next door is confronted by a Nubian queen out for revenge at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in this inaugural Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Amari's Revenge in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Better get the cool slow, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue. I got a chance to take a look at Creature Commandos, the new animated series by James Gunn. Now, Creature Commandos is supposed to be the first product as part of James Gunn's new DC Cinematic Universe, and if this animated series is an indicator to what we're going to see as related to James Gunn's vision for the DC Cinematic Universe, then I believe that the DC Cinematic Universe is basically screwed from minute one. Now, James Gunn was supposed to come in and give us a DC Cinematic Universe that we were all told was going to be better than the dark and gritty Snyderverse that many people really didn't like as related to the adaptation of DC characters or the just completely dysfunctional Berlantiverse that came from television by Greg Berlanti. But when I look at Creature Commandos, I really don't see a really good vision for DC characters that really captures the heart and soul of those characters. No, all I see with Creature Commandos basically is an indicator to me that the DC Cinematic Universe is just as screwed as the Snyderverse because the person in charge really does not have any sort of vision or direction that they really want to go in. Because when I look at James Gunn's Creature Commandos, I just basically see a complete rehash and reskinning of his 2020s movie, The Suicide Squad, and a complete repackaging of that same movie where he basically goes out here and cuts and pastes the characters from the original Suicide Squad onto new skins and tells us that this is going to be his take on the DC Cinematic Universe when basically he's showing me that he's got no sort of imagination, no sort of innovation or vision at all. No, Creature Commandos basically is taking place in the previous universe that he created as related to his take on DC regarding shows like Peacemaker and The Suicide Squad, and all I'm seeing here is that he's a one-trick pony who can only tell the same story over and over again. That's what I'm getting an indicator to as related to this Creature Commando show. This Creature Commando show basically is the same thing as the Suicide Squad, but it's just Suicide Squad with Monster High characters as I see it. Now, the big problems with this whole show, Creature Commandos, is that, again, you're using the same premise once more, where Amanda Waller can no longer go out here and use supervillains to go out here and be a part of her Task Force X. So now what she's looking to do is go out here and use beings that aren't human. However, there's a big plot hole because Dr. Phosphorus, in and of himself, who is the basis for Blight in Batman Beyond, this character, Dr. Phosphorus, is a human being, and it basically makes the entire premise of this entire concept wind up falling completely apart. But the whole problem is that James Gunn, again, has no creativity, so he goes out here, creates a new group of characters who are the exact same thing as the Suicide Squad, and has them led by Rick Flag's father, because Rick Flag wound up dying in Suicide Squad at the hands of Peacemaker. So Rick Flag's father is coming in, leading this team into a foreign country to go out here and take on these sons of Amazons who want to overthrow this country. And this whole plot basically sounds like Suicide Squad 1 Mo again, because Suicide Squad was basically the exact same story with the same ideas, and you have all these same obscure DC characters who aren't human, like the Bride, like the woman who basically reminds me of Laguna Blue from Monster High, who I don't even remember her name. And then you got guys like Dr. Phosphorus. You got your all these obscure characters and GI Robot. Again, all these characters basically cut and pasted into these roles, along with the Weasel, who survived the Suicide Squad movie. And over the course of 3 episodes, we're supposed to believe that these characters are supposed to take on Cersei, a Wonder Woman villain who deserved much better than the adaptation she got in this show. This whole story is supposed to be them going to this country and looking to protect this princess. And as they're looking to protect this princess, we get the same tired gags that we got in the MCU movies before and in the Suicide Squad. So I'm not seeing anything original here. No, I'm seeing the exact same problems that they had over at the MCU, and I'm seeing the same whole mindset that Kevin Feige had, that James Gunn currently has, where he's basically making the same movie and having them come off an assembly line, similar to the way GM had its X-Bodies coming off that line of Chevrolet Citations, Pontiac Phoenix, and Buick Skylarks. And they sadly, with those Chevrolet Citations, Buick Skylarks, and Pontiac Phoenixes, the quality just wasn't there, and the quality isn't here for James Gunn's Creature Commandos. No, the quality isn't here. No, the storytelling is just like it's got an ADHD where it's no real focus, and we get the story, and then when we get these flashbacks to introduce us to these characters, let us get to know these characters. And as we get the flashbacks, we get to see some of the more obscure DC characters like Sergeant Rock and people like Doc Magnus, and many of the characters like the Frankenstein monster. And we get to see these characters, but they don't have that same heart that writers like Paul Dini and Dwayne McDuffie had. No, with Paul Dini and Dwayne McDuffie, we saw that these characters were presented very true to the source material, but here they're basically made to shoehorn into James Gunn's whole idea of how he does superheroes, and his idea of superheroes seems more like satirical, and basically he's still trying to do this tick on crack thing that worked well for Peacemaker, but it really doesn't work well here for Creature Commandos, because with Creature Commandos, again, this is James Gunn's supposed to be first outing as related to showing how he'll do DC characters, and sadly, he doesn't give me a good first impression on how he's going to handle the DC universe. I mean, if this is how he's handling these characters in Creature Commandos, just like he did with Peacemaker and just like he did with Suicide Squad, it doesn't really give me much hope for Superman, because when it comes to DC characters, you cannot treat them like an assembly line. No, each of these characters has their own story, their own spirit, and their own fingerprint, and that's something that's really lacking, because if James Gunn goes out here and does the cut and paste like he did for Creature Commandos, where he just cut and pasted the Suicide Squad onto the Creature Commandos, then I don't really have much faith for him to do Superman, because Superman in and of himself, that character is unique, that character has his own fingerprint, that character has a unique story paradigm that really needs to be respected, and you cannot go out here and make everything go off an assembly line that you've been doing since Guardians of the Galaxy. No, Superman needs to be a special movie like the 1978 film made by Richard Donner, which basically made us believe a man could fly and made us believe in the hope of Superman. That's what made Superman 78 special, and nobody has ever been able to replicate that hope that Superman represents. No, and when I look at Creature Commandos, I really don't have faith in James Gunn. No, I don't have faith in him at all, because he basically shows me he's a one-trick pony who just basically rides in with a laptop, goes out here and doesn't know how to put fingers to the keyboard to craft a story that stays true to the source material of that character. No, he doesn't really show me that as related to things, because his adaptation of these characters basically, again, you got him cutting and pasting Rick Flag Sr. into Rick Flag Jr.'s role. You've got the girl who was who's like Laguna Blue, basically in the role that the girl of the Ratcatcher was, because she was like the goth character, the outsider character. Then we've got the other character, Dr. Phosphorus, who's basically in the role that I believe Peacemaker was in. And we've got all these characters like G.I. Robot. Again, he's in a role similar to another character. I believe that was like the guy with the dots and stuff. Again, these characters just feel like they're just being just transposed onto things, and nothing is really special. No, there's nothing really special about Creature Commandos, and that's what really got me just really alarmed, because, again, James Gunn was supposed to be this visionary that people like David Zaslav thought were going to go out here and turn around the DC cinematic universe from the dark, dreary movies that Zack Snyder wound up making. But sadly, I'm not seeing the creativity that Zack Snyder had, and I'm no fan of the DC Extended Universe because that really didn't capture the heart of those characters. No, that didn't capture the heart of the DC superheroes, who are supposed to be paragons of good, paragons of ideals, and paragons of doing what's right. That's what makes a DC superhero, and I still haven't seen anybody capture that heart like Paul Dini and Bruce Timm were able to do. No, ever since Paul Dini and Bruce Timm ended the DC animated universe, I haven't seen a good adaptation of DC characters. No, I haven't seen that adaptation that captures that heart and soul. I mean, there are movies that were good in the DC extended universe. Shazam was good, Wonder Woman was good, and the Justice League Snyder Cut was good. But when I look at this whole DC cinematic universe, if this is an indicator to what we're going to get, I mean, I think that this DC cinematic universe is screwed at this point, and the Superman movie might be just as big a disaster as Man of Steel. It might be just as big a disaster as Man of Steel, because it just, as I see it, James Gunn really, again, he's making too many of the same mistakes that turned off many of us as related to the MCU, putting in too much humor, putting up too much blood and guts and gore, putting in too much of the kind of, again, twisted stuff, trying to make it comical, like the scene with the necrophilia, with the with the bride and Frankenstein. Again, stuff that, again, he's trying to be edgy, but DC isn't about edge, it's about heart and soul. And that's where I see a problem with James Gunn as related to his take on the DC cinematic universe, because if Creature Commandos is an indicator to what his take of DC will be, then I'm not seeing a DC cinematic universe I want to go out here and invest my time to watch. Because this whole DC Creature Commandos, this show was absolute garbage. I mean, it was absolute garbage from first frame to last of these 3 episodes. The writing is just not there. It's just all over the place. There's no real character development. And everybody, again, just has no real personality or voice that stands out. And the overall conflict basically feels like warmed over Giffen DeMatteis JLI and cut and pasted Suicide Squad. It just feels completely uninspired. And Creature Commandos is a show that I wouldn't be going to war to go out here and watch. It's just a big disappointment all around, and basically shows me that possibly James Gunn isn't the one to be the one to get the shot to do DC movies, because it's clear to me that he doesn't have a good vision for what DC is about, doesn't understand what DC is about, and that basically is due to DC's editorial being a complete mess for the last 25 years. I mean, DC has been a complete mess ever since about 2002, and it's been a wreck all around, and this whole take on the new DC cinematic universe may be one of the biggest blunders Warner Brothers has done, and shows me that the superhero movie is still on a downward trajectory, because people just don't know what is good about being a hero. No, what I see here is, again, more cynical people giving us that dark, cynical view. And again, James Gunn's cynical view with this Marvel-style comedy, it's just not again, clicking for me as related to what DC is all about. No, I believe that he's another case of a guy who, again, has been around too long and shows me that the entire superhero movie genre really needs to, again, take a break. We really need a break because these guys really are rushing to, again, make projects, and the sad part is the projects haven't been good, whether they be the DEI Batman Cape Crusader or this Creature Commandos. We really just need a break as related to things. Everybody needs to regroup because this shot by James Gunn really, again, doesn't leave a strong first impression that the Superman movie will be good. And I have a feeling that if the Superman movie is just like this, because we've got Hawkgirl, you've got Green Lantern, you've got all Mr. Terrific and all these characters, again, it's looking like he's cutting and pasting because he has no idea on how to be original. And possibly, since he has no idea on how to be original, I believe that James Gunn basically shows me that as a one-trick pony, he basically has no way of knowing what to do with these DC characters, and basically got the job because he was somebody they thought they were going to steal from Marvel to make a good success. But I don't see anything that's going to be successful if Creature Commandos is an indicator to his DC, because his DC is everything I can't stand about Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, and everything I can't stand about Marvel Cinematic Universe movies that makes me not want to watch anything as related to his vision of DC. Now, my first full comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, is available in paperback on Lulu.com, and you can pick up a copy for the same price as the 2022 Kickstarter by clicking the link in the description box. And if you want to check out some of the action-packed fantasy on the SJS Direct universe and see a universe that's structured where characters are well developed and have good stories, you can check out the books of the SJS Direct universe, such as those in the ISIS series, the Steam series, the John Haynes series, the books of the Spinsterella trilogy, my vampire novel Eternal Night, or my sorority novel The Thetas, or my novel A Recipe for Success. You can see an entire world built with characters and be able to access that world by any book as an entry point. You can check out all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find those books at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me make more videos taking DC Cinematic and Marvel Cinematic Universe projects or any other sci-fi or fantasy project that's bad to the barbecue, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback at e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes' Illuminati. The man who rules the world takes on the head of the global elite in this all-new action-packed John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' Illuminati in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteem Horror in the Hamptons. The aspiring angel tries to escape a house of horrors in this action-packed, all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem Horror in the Hamptons in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.